Well, so many of us have done it. You sign your name to a tablet or a phone or electronic document without even thinking about it.
And former customers of Bruno Total Home Performance say their electronic signatures were used to create fraudulent documents. The company's under criminal investigation now by the Florida Attorney General, and investigative reporter Lauren Sweeney has been following this story for months.
Well, Chris, the man at the center of this investigation, Louis Bruno, finally agreed to sit down and answer some of my questions. He blames his problems on his competition and calls our reporting fake news.
He's not bashful.
I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, 5 a.m. workout.
Everybody knows, we all know what we're all supposed to do to be successful.
And claims he's committed to his customers.
To make sure that we deliver the highest value of service to our customers.
But if customer satisfaction was a pillar of Louis Bruno's business,
unmatched thievery. I really hope that justice is served.
It was more like dissatisfaction for these 6 customers.
Was anybody surprised to see that when the business was raided?
No.
No.
From a $20,000 air conditioning system that continued to break down.
27 times in 4 years.
With a brand new unit.
Does that seem normal to you?
No.
To an AC system installed by Louis Bruno personally, that a few years later, one of his own technicians described as,
"That's really a terrible system that you have." So we're looking now at a cost of over $20,000.
How many of you felt like you were upsold or tried to be upsold?
Oh, I was upsold. I investigated it, and so I know I was upsold.
Upsold, and some say downright violated.
Raise your hand if somebody from Bruno had you sign a tablet or a phone where you couldn't really see the information associated with what you were signing. So all of you were asked to sign something where you could not see the information you were signing.
Some of these former customers fear someone at Bruno used those signatures without their permission.
Did you ever see that pricing document anywhere?
No. That scribble of my initials, if you will, was done on his little iPhone, and that was to see if I qualified for the program.
Is it possible that this pricing was associated with it and maybe you didn't read it?
No, not at all.
Where do you think they got this signature from you?
They pasted it. They had to have pasted it on that document.
Debbie Giordello believes Bruno employees used her signature to sign her up for a financing program. And only after the workers finished the job, she discovered that financing added up to $50,000.
And I said, I need to talk to Louis Bruno. I said, because these prices are crazy.
Then there's Lance Henderson, who says Bruno employees signed him up for 2 financing programs without his consent. He claims someone from Bruno lifted his signature from a tablet for one document and outright forged it on another.
The one on the left with the single signature, that's the way I signed. That's on my driver's license. That one to the right, it looked like they had someone practice.
Was there forgery going on at this business?
Absolutely not.
And you have evidence to show that these people are elaborating that story or making this up?
Just answered your question. Do you have another question?
That's Sawyer Smith, the attorney representing Louis Bruno.
No, I really don't have very many questions for you, Sawyer. My questions are for Mr. Bruno.
Yeah, you'll get a couple. You can ask him a couple.
It was someone at your company placing signatures onto documents that these people never saw.
It'd be a completely different allegation if it wasn't so fake news, if we signed a contract and then the customer got no product. But they let 140 hours worth of work occur in their residence. So regardless of what they were signing, they were going to contract.
Before I could get any clarification on what Louis Bruno meant by this answer,
Considerably vague question. No, we did our last question. We're out of here. Go Gators. Thank you.
So anybody that has had a problem with Louis Bruno's company, Sawyer Smith, his attorney, says they can contact him directly. We did send him specific details of everyone we interviewed for our story, and he says that his team is addressing those concerns.
At 6, smooth-talking, high-pressure sales pitches. That's what a former employee says he was trained to do when working for Bruno Total Home Performance, the Bonita Springs company under investigation by the Florida Attorney General. Wait News investigative reporter Lauren Sweeney sat down with Louis Bruno for his side.
No, we did our last question. We're out of here.
Before his attorney shut down our interview.
We're not going to sit here and argue back and forth.
I got this.
Do you have another question?
Let me answer this question.
You got enough out of him.
Louis Bruno deflected blame for the criminal investigation into his company.
This is where the media jumped the gun and didn't have time to do the facts because of the public, insane measure that clearly a competitor involved in the middle of has started allegations with customers.
But the customers making the allegations wish Louis Bruno would take responsibility for the harm they say he's caused them.
Here's a young man that could do so much good, and he did so much wrong.
Customers say they were duped into expensive systems they didn't need. And some say they were put into financing contracts without their permission.
There's no way that Louis Bruno doesn't know or is not training these technicians.
He might think he's the Teflon Don of air conditioning.
Chris Chambach worked for Bruno until 2017, when he claims his job was eliminated.
They don't teach you how to work on air conditioning systems and how to repair them. They tell you sales and how to bully people into upselling.
He says employees of Bruno rehearsed scripts with one goal: sell product whether customers needed it or not.
His technicians, I call them salespeople, were constantly trying to get you to add more and more service and product.
Louis, you have a lot of customers that feel like they were taken advantage of by your company and by you personally. What do you say to that?
Any specific cases for any customers, we absolutely have a team dedicated to handling that.
Louis Bruno claims none of his technicians have the authority to recommend equipment beyond what the customer wants. But that's not the experience these customers describe.
Sick. Just sick to my stomach to think that this man is capable and this company is capable of doing what he did to the people in this room.
I asked Bruno's attorney about why that former employee left the company, but he didn't get back to me. And I also provided him with specific details of several customer complaints. But he says his team is addressing those concerns. Haven't heard back from any of those customers. Chris?
All right, but we'll check with him, Lauren. Thank you.
New at 6, it's gone from bad to worse for a prominent Bonita Springs air conditioning company owner. Detectives raided Bruno Total Home Performance 5 months ago, and now Louis Bruno's landlord wants to evict him from his office building. But that's not the worst of it. Wake News investigative reporter Lauren Sweeney found a damaging new court document alleging multiple criminal acts at the company.
Well, Lois, a former Bruno employee admits he notarized signatures on documents without customers ever signing them in front of him. And according to a former customer, there's no doubt someone at the company actually forged her signature before it was notarized. Claims of shoddy work, forged signatures, and fraudulent financing contracts. And some former customers of Bruno Total Home Performance say those financing deals would have put them in outrageous debt.
It was like adding up to like $59,000 when all would be said and done.
After we spoke with Debbie Giordello in February, she filed a lawsuit against Bruno, alleging the company misused her signature to sign her up for financing. In March, another Bruno customer made a similar claim in a lawsuit. But it goes one step further. This customer says she has multiple sclerosis and doesn't even have the ability to sign her name. She claims the signature that ended up on a financing agreement is forged. And what's worse, that signature was later notarized by a Bruno employee.
It's a criminal act.
In court documents, the Bruno employee that stamped his notary seal to that contract actually admits he stamped the document without ever seeing the woman sign it.
The person who encourages a notary to do that participates in a criminal act.
Attorney Kevin Drzezinski specializes in contractor law. He said these new court filings against Bruno are really problematic.
It's a criminal act that goes ahead and perpetuates another criminal act, which is a forgery, which is really bad.
We still don't know exactly what the Florida Attorney General is investigating 5 months after detectives raided the business. Just that both criminal and civil investigations are ongoing. And to date, The AG's office has 213 complaints against Bruno since 2015.
You're saying you don't know anything about that?
Louis Bruno told me by phone he wasn't aware of anyone at his company illegally notarizing documents. Meantime, his attorneys are trying to get the lawsuits dismissed. Louis Bruno says if all of this ends with no criminal charges, he's going to work to aggressively clear his name.
You plan to be in business another 30 years. You think you're going to get through. This is going to be done and over with.
But in the meantime, he's got some other hurdles to jump through. His landlord filed to evict him from his Bonita Springs headquarters. He downplayed the eviction, claiming it's getting worked out. Instead, he wanted to get across how unfair he's been treated because investigators won't release the equipment they seized from his company, even though he hasn't been charged with a crime. The Attorney General's office won't say how soon their case will be wrapped up, so customers like Giordello continue to fight their battles with Bruno in civil court.
Here's a young man that could do so much good, and he did so much wrong.
Late last month, Bruno did get a favorable verdict on a 2016 case. A Collier family claimed Bruno installed an air conditioner wrong and it led to mold in their condo, but the jury didn't find anything wrong with the installation and didn't award any money to that family. Several other lawsuits are ongoing. Chris?
All right, Lauren, thank you.